right, let me see who's here. Good morning, everyone. Hi. Hi to all of you. I am Israel. My name is Israel. I use he, him for pronouns, and I'm the minister of this congregation.
My name's Heather. I'm used she and her. I'm a member of this congregation, and today I'm the worship associate. Good morning, Israel.
Hi, Heather. Good morning. It is our pleasure, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you, faces that I know and faces that I don't, to this virtual space where we gather together, even as we're practicing social distancing, to this progressive spiritual community where we come together to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and live for justice. All of you are welcome here this morning and always, with all that you bring to this space, with all of your questions, your curiosities, your beliefs, your doubts, and everything that lies in between. You are welcome here. You are welcome to this space, no matter who you love, no matter how you move your perfectly imperfect body, no matter how you express gender and understand gender in your body. You are all welcome here to this community where we seek to journey and grow with one another and try to lead lives filled with love, even though we are imperfect. You're welcome to this community of many ages and identities where we come together, because we know that we each carry a piece of wisdom and truth as we experience it. But we need each other to pull back and see the big picture and see that we need all of our wisdom and truth and experience to understand the beautiful complexity of how the world truly is.
We are gathering in community because during this time of pandemic and distancing, as we all wait patiently or not so patiently for the slow process of vaccine rollout, we recognize that gathering virtually is how we affirm our interdependence and offer hope to one another. We warmly welcome anyone who's new here. We know that entering into a spiritual community as a newcomer can be intimidating, but we're so glad you're taking the brave step of checking us out. We are Unitarian Universalists, and we all might be spiritual rebels in our own way, but we're rebels together. We hope that you will feel connected to what goes on here, even through the screen across distance and digital space. We hope you will find folks to chat with, and we hope we will meet you someday in person. If you'd like to find out more about our church, what goes on here, we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter by visiting our website. And George, if you would put that in the chat, please. We also invite you to join a special breakout room after the service to ask questions about the congregation and about Unitarian Universalism.
So I'm trying something out today that we tried last week, but so today we are coming together to mark the 1-year anniversary of the coronavirus pandemic, of social distancing, of going into lockdown, and reflect on what this past year has been like for all of us. And so I pose a question to all of you this morning, and if you'd like to respond in the chat, I invite you to do so. And the question is really, what maybe surprised you about yourself and about how you were this past year? Like, for instance, maybe some of you felt like you never wanted to have to put on anything other than pajamas again for the first few months. Actually, that didn't really surprise me about myself, because I could do that all the time. Or maybe you discovered that you really, really missed getting dressed up. And maybe you also want to put in the chat, something that you are really missing and cannot wait till you're able to do again. So that's just a way for us to feel connected to each other this morning, to see each other, and to have a moment to tell our story as we gather and we begin to enter into this space. I'm curious.
And Reverend Israel, if you will now invite us into sacred space by lighting our chalice,
Sure.
symbol of our Unitarian Universalist movement. We light this.
Some of these things in the chat here. I love dancing in my house. I am surprised by how resilient many of us are. Visiting with family. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna light our chalice now. Keep typing into the chat.
We light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing, humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time. We come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing we can ever know, that love is now and forever the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment.
Thank you, Heather. And if any of you are still waking up, I invite you to enter further into sacred space with us as we wake up and listen to this spirited rendition of our beloved hymn, Spirit of Life, performed by us by Graham Capobianco.
Spirit life, come on to me, come on to me, sing in my heart all stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life a shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Roots hold me close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
So, as I said, we are here to mark the 1-year anniversary of the coronavirus pandemic, of when we all went into lockdown. I think it was a year ago this past week that the first cases of coronavirus were found in Pennsylvania. And we are here to reflect on this past year and all of the feelings, all of the emotions, all of the experiences that we have all been through together while apart. So much change, so much quiet, so much tumult, so much anxiety and fear and loss and peace. We have this past year found ways to find meaningful connection through the miracle of technology across distance. We have found peace and perhaps chaos and disorder in working at home. Others have experienced the stress of being an essential worker. Others, the isolation of lacking human touch and missing human touch. We have moved, rested, hoped, and worried. And now we are here, this morning, a year later, still here together, apart, to mark this time, to acknowledge this incredible thing that we have been through, that is still going on. We are here because, my friends, we need each other. We say this often because it is true. We are here because being together, it can't fix all of our problems. It won't make all of this go away, but perhaps it makes us feel a little bit less alone to be here together. Here in a world of never-ending to-do lists, even though things have changed, never-ending to-do lists and multitasking while doing them on multiple different screens at the same time. We are here to give some structure to life amidst the chaos, to give some structure and find some meaning in our lives through the ritual of a worship space together. It's not magic being here together, like I said. It doesn't fix all of our problems, but it does help us to be present to life and to notice what is important. So take a moment to pause and to be here in this moment and recognize that there is always something incredible and magical and miraculous to be discovered when we simply turn our attention to life itself. Take a moment. For when our spirits are dampened by reality and the dark night of the soul begins to set in, when we recognize that we always have each other. When we recognize that we always have each other. We see the bright morning stars arising and the day breaking in our souls.
Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising.
We gather here together because we're not perfect, because we don't have everything figured out in life, because we need a space to be with life and with our thoughts and with each other. Because we may find in life that we cannot make sense of things all the time, that we do not necessarily believe that everything happens for a reason, or that there is even an overarching meaning to the universe. Or maybe you do believe that. But either way, sometimes in life, things can be difficult and hard, and it can feel like nothing truly matters. When we are alone, when we do not have people to help us make sense of things, people to help us feel supported, when we feel like our cups are empty, we come here to this place, to this our well of community, where we can refill our cups, even if it's only part way, where we can refill our cups and find some sustenance. Or maybe if you are so dry on this particular day, you do not have the strength to fill your own cup, and you need the help of someone else to help you fill it a little bit more. So I ask you this morning, how are you doing? How's your heart? How are you feeling? What do you bring to this space? We make space for all of those things here, all that you bring, your story here in this space. If you have a joy, we'll raise a glass, share a toast with you, and celebrate. And if you come here with your cup empty, we will fill it. And we will share a pint with you. Now is the time in our service when I invite you to share your story with us. If there is something on your heart that needs to be shared, to type it into the chat now in 15 words or less, and we'll read it aloud for you, and I will fill your cup for you to symbolize the effect, the presence of this community in your life. So if you want us to share your name, you type your name in the front, say from so-and-so. Otherwise, we will not read your name aloud.
From Linda Kinney, I have been so sad this past week. It is a year since COVID was found in an employee at Dartmouth Hitchcock. That was the beginning here.
Joy, I received my first vaccine shot Friday. Sorrow for all the people having difficulty getting theirs.
From Fred, grateful for Cindy's surgery, hope for a steady, full recovery.
From BB, joy to be healthier, mourning losses.
My mother's birthday today, and I'm missing her so much, so very much.
From Naomi, sharing love. For Holly,
For Holly, who is at home recovering from surgery, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pandemic fatigue. From Kathy Lewis, moved to Paradise, PA in October from California, joyfully adjusting. From Jean, wet basement, drying out, cleaning out.
From Charlotte, our love goes out to Karen Roberts. Her life has been filled with so many beautiful beginnings of life moments.
It's been exactly 6 years since my mom passed, missing her.
Welcome, Kathy.
Wish you were here, Ryan.
And for all of the joys, the sorrows, the complex truths, the ones that words cannot express, the ones that remain in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, the burdens that we carry silently, the joys that are still in process, and the things we have yet to make sense of. I fill this space in the glass with some more water from our well. I'm going to leave a little more space left in there, because we know that there is always room for more in this community. Our community holds all of your stories, all that you bring. This is who we are together. And we nourish and care for and give sustenance to one another. I invite you all now to take a moment and join me in the spirit of meditation or mindfulness, what some call prayer. To be present to this moment, to put your feet flat on the ground. You can close your eyes if you'd like, so that you may notice more fully life, or you can open them and look around and notice life before you. Or you can go into gallery view and notice those who are gathered here with you, experiencing this moment with you, here for you, and know that you are not alone. None of us are alone. Even though sometimes we drive each other a little bit off the walls, even though community can be tricky sometimes, you are not alone. You are here on this day, alive and breathing. You are given the gift of life on this day. For one more day. None of us knows how many more days we will be given. But we are here together for one more day, given the chance to live, to breathe, to draw breath, to dream the dreams of a life that is indeterminate. Dream the dreams of a world that could be more beautiful and more loving and just with our actions. We are here, my friends, today on this beautiful, beautiful planet. Know that we are shaping and living and growing together. Know that someday it will end for all of us. So in the meantime, how will you make the best of this time? Reach out to one another when you need help, when you need someone else. And dream. How will you dream? What will you do? How will you make the best of this one precious life you are given?
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul, my soul.
We are here to give comfort and to dance and to sing with one another. And we are here to share our lives and our stories and our experiences and our wisdom and our truths with one another. As I said, this week and this month marks the 1-year anniversary of this time of being in the experience of pandemic with each other. And so today, some members of the congregation will share their stories and their experiences of this time of COVID and social distancing with all of us, so that we may all gain a better piece of understanding of the truth and see the beautiful tapestry of life that we are all a part of.
Hi.
We'll hear first from Joanna Lowenstein.
Thank you so much, Reverend Israel. Hi, my name is Joanna Lowenstein. My pronouns are she, her, and I've been attending services at UUCL for about 10 years. Thank you so much for having me share today. The start of the pandemic, I am a pre-K teacher. At the time I was teaching preschool, and due to the mandated shutdown, I had to stop and wasn't teaching for a number of months. And my sister is a performer, and she was performing for a Norwegian cruise line and also had to come back from that. So we both, who so love our work, had to stop. We were both staying at our parents' house, Lauren and John Lowenstein, who are also members here. And so having us all under one roof again was kind of a surreal experience. It was very nice having the time together, but also sad given everything that was happening. Also, my school ended up closing during that time because the owner retired. So we came back, had to move everything out. Then I had to start looking for another teaching position, which then began that summer in a new school. 3 weeks into that school year, we had a fire. Everyone was fine. The building was pretty much fine, but still sufficient damage that we ended up having to change classroom spaces to another part of the building that was not affected. And then another series of many moves as different issues arose as they were fixing other things. So I just did the final move yesterday. And I'm doing some finishing touches today in time for the children coming. So it's definitely a disruption with that, on top of just being in person the whole time teaching and having to wear masks, and my 4- and 5-year-old students wearing masks, and the staff, and doing our best to trying to keep everyone safe. And also being concerned with my family with not wanting to spread COVID. So I ended up, sooner than anticipated, moving in with my now fiance, because we were going to wait until we were engaged. But because with everything going on, it's like, it's better to do this now. So I feel very thankful to have him, who also has been helping me with all of the moves and getting settled here into our townhouse. And my fiance, whose name is Jared Rule, he also has been attending some of the services here and has really enjoyed that. So between him and my family and having my students, that has really been something that has given me joy through all of the ups and downs, and has made me a person who is better at going with the flow. and just taught me to always remain hopeful and that things will turn around. I'm also extremely thankful that I have this community as well, and thankful that my parents always made sure that even though we were an interfaith family and a minority in that way, that we always had a place to go and a place for me to feel that I was embraced here, and also at the Ethical Culture Society of Bergen County, where I was brought up with. A lot of the values are very similar. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but we always just have to cling to where we find love, whether that's with our family, loved ones, or our religious community. Very glad to have UUCL.
Thank you, Joanna. Phoebe.
Good morning. My name is BB, and my pronouns are they and them. And I'm glad to be here this morning. By most measures, my COVID year hasn't been too bad. None of my friends or family has died. Everyone that I know that had COVID came through okay. I've had a job the entire time, plus hazard pay and free meals at times. I moved to a new apartment that I absolutely love. So what have I lost to COVID? The thing that I treasure most in my life, besides, my daughter, my cat, and my friends, experiences. I miss going to the same art exhibit so many times that the docents recognize me. I miss Tetrising as much as I can into a backpack so I don't have to pay for an extra bag on a flight. I miss dancing in a dark club surrounded by a faceless crowd. I miss watching people fly and play with fire and hang from silk strips in the air. I miss going to a random poetry reading that I found out about 2 hours before. I miss sitting in a theater with an enthusiastic crowd. I miss being judgmental on public transportation. I miss putting on a mildly outrageous costume to go hang out with people in even more outrageous costumes. I miss listening to people's problems and giving them a hug and a piece of candy. I miss the opportunities to turn my shallow relationships into deeper ones. I miss walking through a performance art venue and smelling sweet smoke and thinking, geez, someone's bold. I miss having my expectations, assumptions, and fears shattered and my faith in humanity restored. I miss having my expectations met. I miss hugs and small, insignificant displays of physical affection. I miss getting in my car any random weekend and just driving, calling a friend with 40 minutes notice and saying, hey, I'm in town, wanna hang? I miss meeting some rando on public transportation or in the hostel lobby and spending the whole day with that person, hanging out, sharing things with each other you definitely shouldn't tell strangers and things that you can only tell strangers. I miss the enthusiasm and confidence that I had last year. I miss being my true, authentic, queer, weird self for more than a couple of hours at a time. I miss parts of me, parts of others that we'll never get back because we are forever changed by this experience.
Thank you, BB.
Thank you.
Good morning. I am Jean Horizor. My pronouns are she and her. I have attended UUCL for 25 years with my husband, George, and as they have joined us, our two sons, Tom and Paul, and now my father, Paul. As I think back over this pandemic year, I am acutely aware of the huge range of emotions I felt and still feel. The initial feelings were of disbelief, denial, and dread. As a registered nurse in the surgical services of my hospital, we quickly learned that we would be required to leave our comfort zones. As we listened to the news, we knew that we would be on the forefront of this crisis. As it progressed, we knew it would be neither quickly over nor simply managed by our conflicted country. I worried for our son Paul in Cleveland at school, and for our son Tom, who moved and started a new job. I knew that my job would put my family at risk, and many of you have met my father Paul in the coffee hour. He is 96 years old, he remains sharp and active, and he lives with us. We've had some deep discussions on the what ifs. We have felt incredibly blessed that we can be together through this. At the same time, I have carried the deep fear that I would be the one to infect him. I think my shoulders lifted about a full foot when he finally had his first vaccine. One more to go. As the spring progressed, I oriented to the med-surg units and occasionally cared for COVID patients. The numbers grew and surgeries were put on hold. I spent a few days each week outside in all weather conditions, in the triage tents, testing patients for COVID. Who doesn't like having their brain poked a little? Or as my son Tom says, they haven't done it right if you don't break a tear. Throughout the spring, I found myself crying at least once a day for about the first 2 to 3 months. And as I am a cup half full type of person, that didn't feel good. It was hard to tap into that side of myself as I watched people separated and alone. I am a hugger and toucher, and that felt so alien to be unable to care for people in that way and to only touch through the barrier of gloves. On top of this, the political and social issues of this year have been so very raw and intense. As the bizarreness of our politics collided with the pandemic, I again felt the disbelief, denial, and dread. As I watched the continuing racial discrimination and divides weaving through the pandemic and politics, I felt denial, disbelief, and grief. In contrast to these feelings, I feel amazingly lucky and blessed that my and George's families are still healthy and thriving and still employed. We occasionally Zoom with George's family, and my family meets virtually every single week, whether we need to or not. The other important piece of this year is all of you, each one. I have not attended church every single Sunday since I was in grade school, but we have been here every week, and Dad makes sure of it. I have treasured the weekly ritual of focus, friendship, and spiritual support. Our Soul Matters group and the choir have kept me grounded and at peace and inspired. And so this pandemic year draws to a close with hope for rebuilding our way of life. The vaccines are rolling out slowly, albeit unfairly, but steadily, casting a growing net of safety and possibility. We must continue to be careful and vigilant until this net is fully formed. I look forward to being present in person with each of you this coming year, to thank you in person, to return to hugs.
Hi, my name is Mary Ann Smith. I use she, her pronouns. My father-in-law died on February 28th, 2020. His funeral was March 7th, 2020 in Connecticut. Our children missed the last day of in-person school before the pandemic in order to travel to Connecticut. I work in healthcare information technology for Lancaster General Hospital. I'm a project manager. The first impact I saw at work was a slowdown and stoppage of many of my projects. Vendors were no longer allowed in the hospital, and leadership, really everyone, was pivoting to COVID preparations. The anxiety about what was going to happen was thick, but we didn't yet have anything to do. By April, I was so busy with new pandemic-related projects that I had a full-on meltdown. I remember walking back and forth on my street, cell phone to my ear, screaming at my boss about how frustrated and overwhelmed I was. I wanted so badly to do my part, to prepare us for what we thought may be a really ugly situation soon, and I wasn't living up to my own standards. Andy, my husband, and all of our children were home. As an introvert, I needed space and I just could not find it. Andy works as a physician, and he was working every other week from home so that his team could ensure that they didn't all get sick or need to quarantine at once. Starting early and ending late on most days, there were Zoom calls in the background about preparing for the pandemic. We put together an emergency quarantine plan for how we would handle things if someone in the house got sick. We were doing weekly Zoom calls with my mom, and still are, and extended family, getting to know some of those family members better, and definitely seeing them way more often than usual. The schools started distributing iPads and other school supplies for our children. We needed to make sure that that technology worked. That really stressed out Skylar, the youngest child, which added much more emotion and drama to each day. Over the summer, we went to the beach, where we were able to keep ourselves at the pool and on the beach, separated from everyone else. It was good to be on vacation, even though it did not feel normal. This summer, we also picked up a new hobby, pickleball. What a relief that was, to have something safe and fun to do, and we started making that part of the weekend routine. Shortly after school started again in September, I started having daily headaches that I could not explain or get rid of with over-the-counter medication. After a few weeks, on a day when my head hurt particularly badly, I went to the emergency department. Over the next few weeks, I learned that what I was experiencing was tension headaches. Benadryl helped reduce the pain, but what I really needed to do was figure out how to remove some tension from my body. I've returned to daily yoga. I practice explicit gratitude and make sure that I reach out to a friend or family member most days. I've been using exercise and sometimes emotional TV as stress release activities. I live life now with a rigid checklist of self-care that I must accomplish every day in order to feel well. I've learned to notice the tension in my body before my head starts to hurt. I've been walking with friends as a social exercise. These walks have deepened my relationships with many fine women and kept me feeling supported and connected. This winter, Lancaster General started preparing for vaccinations, and my work assignments juggled again. Skylar returned to school in person, which made working from home much easier. After January 6th, we learned that my father was a QAnon believer. I wonder if we didn't stay connected enough to him and if more Zoom calls with Dad would have helped. We spent a lot of energy trying to gently redirect him to truth, but sadly have been unsuccessful so far. What an experience the past year has been. I'm thankful for the new awareness of my body, my healthy habits, and for the deepened relationships I've been able to create. I'm sad about the lost relationships too, and my father especially. I know I'm very privileged and that all of my family members are healthy. A whole year into this pandemic is amazing. Thank you for listening to my story.
Hi, I'm Karen Roberts, and my pronouns are she and her. The pandemic has been kinder to me than, well, most of the planet. I'm financially secure. My practice has kept our staff both safe and employed. My work has kept me in touch and touching people. While colleagues like Jean downtown were struggling to understand this chameleon of a virus and keeping people alive, I was delivering babies. And I already liked jigsaw puzzles. While many were losing jobs and loved ones, I missed vacations and canceled Broadway shows. Instead of spending my 60th birthday with my sister at a Lady Gaga concert in Vegas, I was Zooming with friends and family. I've eaten too much and definitely drank too much. I've stayed mostly healthy, and I was amongst the first wave of vaccinations. I was horrified when masking became a political act and angered when ignorant and hypocritical leaders led irresponsible actions. Even now, I'm appalled at the poor planning of the vaccine rollout. Scientists managed to develop multiple vaccines in record time, but bureaucrats couldn't plan their distribution. During all this, when it couldn't get any worse, it did. Brianna and George and Ahmed gave face to a different kind of plague. From my home looking down onto Chestnut Street, I saw protests and joined them when I could. And I was so proud when the UUCL started witnessing, and even prouder when walking home from witnessing, the protesters at the police station stopped me and asked to take my photo because I was wearing a white coat and had a sign that said, "Racial justice is a public health issue." And by the way, I made sure they knew my name was Karen. Anyway, there was a sweet joy this year. I'd lost my cat the previous year and was planning to adopt after I returned from a trip to Oberammergau in May. Well, that got canceled. And so on March 13th, I adopted my cat Daisy from the pet pantry. She had been rescued from a house of 14 cats and never been socialized. My little quarantine kitty was terrified and took months for her to venture out of hiding. But if it weren't for the pandemic, I might not have had the time to spend laying underneath a bed, trying to woo her from underneath that bed, winning her trust. She's still a little skittish, but she's come a long way. When I look back on this past year, I'll remember it as the year I was separated from my mother. At first waving from below her window and then separated by plexiglass and then shouting through glass doors. When people would ask about her, I would honestly say, she is amazingly upbeat, as long as I stuff her with Hershey Kisses. This past week, she took a turn for the worst, so much so that they let me go to her room. I hugged her for the first time in a year. I know she's been well cared for, but the isolation of the past year has definitely led to her decline. She's actually stabilized for now, but my connection to her is still determined by the staff at the nursing home and public health statistics. Yet even with this, I've been lucky. So many people have lost loved ones to COVID without the option of being by their side. Hospital staff have used phones to arrange for final farewells. At least I've been able to be near my mom and touch her. I look forward to singing in person with the choir, sitting in a Broadway theater, going to a movie, and traveling to distant places. I won't miss Zoom, except for when I can turn the camera off and attend church in my jammies. I won't miss the word unprecedented. I won't miss masking, probably because I think I'm going to be wearing one for a long time. I feel lucky, guilty, privileged, and blessed.
Thank you to all of you for sharing your stories with us, for helping us to see and understand a little bit more of life and the truth by being together. My friends, we have been through something incredible together this past year, something that we are still processing, something that it may take us all a long time to make sense of, to make sense of something that does not make sense, to make sense of 500,000 people, 500,000 people whose lives have been lost. $500,000 people. And yet, we are still here. And yet, we act perhaps as if death was never a part of life to begin with, when it has always been a constant in life. And so has life. Moments, experiences, times like these do not have to make sense. But we can make meaning or understanding of them together. I leave us with the thought, with one of the sayings of Martin Luther, the reformer, who said that if the world were to go to pieces tomorrow, I would still plant my apple tree. I remembered thinking of those words back at the beginning of this pandemic, and I went out and I bought seeds, tomato vine seeds, not apple tree seeds. And I planted them in a place, in Oregon actually, knowing that I actually would not be there to see the plant, the vine, produce its fruit. But I planted it anyway, knowing that I would hand it off to someone else who would enjoy its fruits. That is life. That is life, my friends. Though the world may go to pieces tomorrow, we still sow our seeds. We still tend our plants. And whether or not we are here to reap what we sow, whether or not we are here to taste the sweet fruits that we grow, we do not stop from trying to make this world a bit more sweet, and a bit more green, and a bit more beautiful for all who come after us, and for all who we are still here with. In time, we will make more sense of this year, of this time together. But for now, let us be together and let us share the fruits of our garden with one another.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we're there, we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we're there, we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We'll know we're there. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 We'll know we're there.
We gather in community because we know deep in our bones that we need each other to survive. We practice our interdependence here in many ways, by sharing our hearts with one another, by offering comfort and presence to one another, and by learning and growing together. And now we call ourselves to practice our interdependence by giving what we can to support the financial needs of this community. Because we are a community that practices its interdependence with the larger community, we share half of the offering with our community partners. In March, we share half of our offering with Assets Lancaster. Assets provides resources to empower women and Black, Indigenous, and people of color entrepreneurs to launch and grow inclusive and ethical businesses for our community. You can make all this possible by texting the amount of your donation to the number on the screen or by visiting our website. Thank you for your support.